video was made for educational purposes only. Are y'all ready? Just so we clear, this video is about twerking, deconstructing the racial and gender implications of black women's bodies through representations of twerking. Before I get into my analysis, I want to state this clearly. Yes, twerking was popularized by black Americans. However, throughout the diaspora, it's always historically existed, which is why we seeing our African aunties throwing it back like that. I ain't lying to you either. Research over me search in the Ivory Coast, the dance is called the Mpuku, a traditional dance also known as the dance of the Bahamas. In Kenya and Tanzania, it's a variant, it's called the Shakacha, in which the dancer, usually a woman, shakes her hips and bounces. Swaying movements resembling the Uganda Bakasimba and the Congolese Soukous dances. Variants exist in the North, United States, in Europe, and the Caribbean, where a concentration of African descendants exists. As we go through the pathology and the stigma of this dance move, the main thing I want y'all to take from this is choreographers routinely put pelvic thrusts and grinds in performance. These movements index a cultural celebration of joy rather than a sexual provocation. See, the term twerking was coined and popularized by us down south. Shout out to the people in New Orleans. DJ Jubilee and Big Freedia actually coined the term. So they ain't from down here. Probably the first time you heard the term twerking when it was whistle while you twerk. Do y'all know that this song actually is a sample from Disney and not the original song? Blew my mind when I learned too. Back to the literature though. According to Michelle Alexander, the term twerking is problematic because it conjures negative connotations to an old artistic body expression. In its original formulation, these dance moves used to be celebrated and understood as a part of valued cultural heritage. Unfortunately, the appropriation of the word and failure to understand its artistic expression continues the demonization of non-conforming bodies. We know the story of Sarah Bartman, also known as Hottentot Venus, illustrates the long history of black women's bodies being pathologized, appropriated, and commodified for pure entertainment and consumption, but we should not always correlate bodies for this grotesque consumption. The question becomes, are you lost in the sauce in the mythical, pathological understanding of our bodies? Like Gilman, Patricia Hill Collins demonstrates that racist, sexist notions are embedded in the iconography with her discussion of the 5 major controlling images of black women: the Mammy, the matriarch, the mother welfare queen, black lady, and the Jezebel hoochie. She argues that from these controlling images are fundamental black women's oppression because they assume black women have certain traits and are so prevalent that they become hegemonic, seen as natural, normal, and inevitable. Twerking ain't the issue. The way you've been indoctrinated to view twerking is the issue. These images of black women not only affect how black women see themselves, but also how they are viewed by other members of society. This is apparent through the kinds of assumptions that arise from portrayals of twerking. When explaining his exacerbation with twerking portrayals, Trey clarified that his frustration derives from the following kinds of tropes that are associated with twerking. Just for context, what I get into what Trey said, I'm reading right now from that first journal that I was referencing called Twerking, that's deconstructing all of the different things. Trey says, well, I guess the tropes and association when it comes to promiscuity of black urban youth, that's the foremost one that comes with it is a lack of self-respect, self-regard, and the lack of refinement and sophistication. Like when you contrast it with the ballroom dancing or something that comes across as not as sophisticated. Sophistication. As somebody from the hood, I'm always critical for how women that come from our community get seen as being unsophisticated and pathologized as being less than, while other women's bodies, especially in more black affluent spaces, is not seen as such. This illustrates how when you look at your own people through the lens of mainstream America, you usually lead to pathology. Trey's response demonstrates that portrayals of twerking are often packed with assumptions about extreme freakiness and promiscuity and deviance of black urban youth. He also highlights that some people view twerking as a demonstration of black urban youth's lack of self-respect, lack of self-regard, lack of refinement, and lack of sophistication. In this example, we see that it's not only Anglos in America that will take the cultural products of our community and deviate the cultural producers. We see a lot of folks in our community do the same thing, especially when you're viewing what's happening from a non-lower socioeconomic background and you view it as something that everybody should rise to, or you view it as some of that nonsense shenanigans that people do in the hood. To understand the depth of the hyper-freakiness myth that is attached to black women, it is necessary to examine the Jezebel images more closely. To the Jezebel, the hoe, the hoochie, is constructed as a freaky, aggressive woman whose appetites are at best inappropriate and at worst insatiable. Twerking is way more than a dance trend. It's a cultural practice that has deep historical roots. Its legacy and evolution illustrates the tension between autonomy, appropriation, and the celebration of black culture. Education is elevation. I holla.